classmates and all they're worried about is scrolling through TikTok and not listening to what the teachers say. My name is Piper White, and today my speech is going to be about the no phone policy. First, I'm going to start off with saying people nowadays are more worried about the latest Snapchat filter or the most famous dance on TikTok or what they're eating tonight in the group message and just anything that's really a distraction on their phone. So to start off, we're going to start off with distractions. Phones cause distractions because really in class, if you have your phone, you're not going to be really focused on what you're learning about that day. So throughout the months at my high school, we had, my freshman year, we were allowed to have our phones at the beginning of the year. But throughout the year, our test scores and our GPA of the class started dropping. So then is when we started worrying about more about like what the teachers started worrying about more what our grades were and like what we were doing instead of focusing more on our phones. I think that with that being said, social media is really a big factor on all of this, causing all these distractions. It's really hard to sit through like an hour and a half class when you have your phone and you can just be scrolling through social media instead of putting it away and listening to what the teacher is saying. With all the new social media designs and all the new platforms that have been released, it causes many like side conversations during class where like at this table they'll be talking about what's on Facebook, this table they'll be talking about like what's on TikTok, this next table is Snapchat, this next table Instagram. Like it's just many different platforms of social media that really cause all of these problems in the classroom. It's really easy to have all these side conversations when you're in a classroom with all your friends when you might only see them at school, because if you're at home then you might not really talk to them or anything. So when you're at school, I feel like it's just easier for you to be on your phone and talk about the newest update or whatever with your friends at your table. With that being said, the teachers are up there still trying to teach. They're talking, they're teaching the whole class, but then again, you might be on your phone not really listening. And so the teachers could be yelling at you to listen and they're just being ignored because you're not focused on them, you're focused on your phone. And I think that if we put away our phones, then all these distractions of the social media and the side conversations will limit and more people start listening to teachers and understand what they're talking about. With that being said, it goes into failing grades. My freshman year, I really struggled academically myself, I'm not gonna lie. I started hanging out with groups that my sports brought me to that really, I wanted to fit in with them instead of being my own person. Throughout middle school and elementary school, I really focused on my grades and who I was, and I was always really a teacher's pet. So my freshman year, I feel like I was under social pressure and that I had to do what they had to do to be able to fit in. And my phone use really increased throughout that year. With that being said, my parents really noticed my grades dropping and they had a talk with me about my grades, and they started asking me questions like if I was hanging out with the right group, if I was really who I wanted to be, like really just those kind of questions for me to like set my standards higher, because my goal has always been to go play at a D1 level like Texas A&M for softball, and for me to get here I really had to have good grades academically and I had to have a good GPA and good like test scores and stuff. But with me being on my phone all the time in class and really hanging out with those people really pressured me into not really focusing on my grades, and it really made my grades drop. And so when I was sitting down with my parents, they asked me like, do I still want to go play at the next level, or do I want to hang out with these group of people and become who they are instead of following my dreams and focusing on myself. So with that being said, I stepped away from that group. I started focusing more on school. I started putting my phone up. I wasn't really part of like the clique that like at this table I was always on my phone always talking. I was really over here by myself, like focusing on what the teacher say for my grades to come up and for me to be better more academically. I know to this day those people still struggle, and it's like an everyday thing. Like they depend on their phone instead of being their own person. Like they always go to their phone and like look things up and stuff. But if they were in school listening, then they would probably know more stuff and they wouldn't have to look as much up. So throughout the years, later into my freshman year is when my principal decided to put in the no phone policy. So one day we all went to the gym. It was a big school meeting. The whole school had to go. And right when you walk in, you see this big poster with, it was a cell phone in the middle and then a big red circle and a line through it. And that's when we all knew that that's what the no phone policy was. Many people weren't happy about this policy, but with all of our test scores dropping and our academics declining as a school, they had to put this policy into the school for our students to be more like academically smarter, and they really needed help. The students needed help, and with this no phone policy, I think that as a total, it really helped the test scores to start going up. Throughout the weeks, you seen like how our academics started rising instead of continuously declining because we put this new phone policy inactive, and it really helps students focus more instead of being to the side on their phones and not listening. So as the policies improved, that's when we started getting better as a school, and that's when the school was able to help us more, like to reach our goals and to send all of our academic and transcripts into universities to be able to get accepted into them. So with everything being said, I think that the no phone policy should go inactive to all schools because it really helps limit the distractions, and the distractions really hurt your learning, like I said at the beginning. And I think that if we do lock away our phones, then yes, you need to have them in a safe place, like a little pouch, or like at my school we had this empty toolbox, and it would be numbered into our class, like into our table groups, and that's where we would put our phone. And so like if emergency did happen, then you could go and get your phone and like contact your parents or anything. But during learning hours, your phone would be away, so you'd be able to focus more. I think locking away the phones really helps boost academics, especially with the school. And the schools really can't help you if you're doing bad in academics to help you achieve your goals. Schools really help care and support you. Your school is probably one of your biggest support groups, but it would be hard for them if they can't really back anything up for them to support you. They really care about how far you make it in life, and if you do have like bad academics, then they can't really help you and care for you. I mean, they can be there for you as a person, but I think it would be really hard for them to continue to care for you. And really, I think to close it all off with, all schools should be the no phone policy rule, just to help you make it farther in life and for you to grow as a person instead of always depending on your phone. Thank you.